everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady checking in with a mid-November native garden tour. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I am super excited that we have frost in the forecast. It might frost tonight. I think it'll definitely frost tomorrow night. And then we have a mild forecast again, but just to get a little rational mid-November weather is gonna feel really great. I don't think ever in my life I have wished for cold weather, but here I am. So I'm really excited to show you how the native borders are looking. As you can see, Fothergilla is really starting to show off its incredible fall color. It's been really dry. We did get, I'm gonna say roughly 2 inches of rain earlier this week, although every one of my rain gauges had a different amount in it, which is super annoying. But I'm glad we got at least some measurable rain. We could definitely use more, but anything is something at this stage, and cooler weather means that all that moisture won't evaporate so quickly. So without further ado, let me turn this camera around so that you can get an up-close view of how all of the native borders are looking. And just to really hone in on the incredible coloration of this Fothergilla, I believe this is Mount Airy, although, oh wait, is it labeled? Nope, it's Fothergilla gardenii. Hot diggity, I've got it labeled. And look, there are California poppies self-sowing, which is great. Of course, I don't have a handle on the centipede turf, which likes to run into these beds, and you can see it's just very capable runner, but it's not the hardest thing to pull out. And I haven't spent any time weeding in here at all, like really since, I don't know when, sometime in the summer. I've got some chickweed growing because that's what chickweed does. But overall, I've got to say, the borders are looking good, albeit a bit dry. You know, the plan is that we are going to burn all of the grasses sometime this winter. Ideally, it'll probably be January or early February. And that'll include the muley grasses. We did burn all these muleys last year, and you can see how well they came back, how incredibly dynamic they look. They are starting to fade, and you can really appreciate at this time of year how much better the white cloud Muhlenbergia looks compared to the pink muley. Now the pink muley is great, and I'm not saying don't grow it, but compare that to there. You see the pink muley gets really dull, and it doesn't really hold its integrity, its structural integrity as well. These will actually collapse significantly earlier than the white cloud. So the pink muleys will probably get burned earlier than the white, just because the white will continue to look good for at least another 6 to 8 weeks. I'm also really enjoying the dried seed heads of the Rudbeckia subtomentosa. And I don't have to pick a favorite, but if I had to pick a favorite Rudbeckia, I believe it would be the species subtomentosa. Now, another great plant for fall color is Itea virginica, and this is one from First Editions, and it is a spreader, so you do need to be prepared for the fact that it's just going to kind of spread around and sort of colonize. You can see it starting to sucker around here, but that's exactly the habit that I want to have happen in these native borders. I don't want it to be blocky. I do want it to sort of run together and be a mix mash. Now, I'm hoping that next year will be the year where the shrub border really starts to fill out and get some height and looks like a height differential. All the different viburnum that I planted, they have gone totally deciduous, but it's great to see they've got healthy buds. They're all healthy despite being extremely dry. And same thing with the spireas. This is Spirea tomentosa here, and you see it hasn't totally gone deciduous yet, but it will, and I have allowed some seed heads to persist, but these are very, very seedy, so you do want to be cautious about how many of these you allow. Now I'm saying those words and I'm looking over there at that stand of salvia, and that is also a lot of seed. Let's go over there and take a closer look. So as I round the corner, we've got the Solido, also in full seed. I could totally start selling native seed. Maybe I should. I laugh about it, but actually there's probably a significant market for that. I think a lot of this seed is already dropped. Oh no, there's a lot of seed in here. Holy smokes. So, wow. This is salvia. I'm gonna get the label. Your urticifolia. And it's not like a show-stopping bloom, but it was actually pretty interesting. And I do like these dried seed heads. And I know this is like the traditional horticulturalist coming out of me, but when I see something this seedy, it makes me nervous because I don't need all of these seeds to germinate in this bed. And that's what could happen. And this is what often the native plant information that you find online doesn't really discuss the reality of maintaining these plants in a way that is garden reasonable. So I need to do a little research, but I probably need to get my act together and come out and collect a bunch of seed. That is the most reasonable approach to this. And then I wouldn't be wasting the seed and I wouldn't be resenting the plants. And again, this is the time for seed, but you know, the asters are also in full seed. And again, you look at how many seed heads there are, there's just not room for all of these to drop to the ground and germinate. So I think that I need to carve out some time and make native seed collecting a priority. What do y'all think? The main struggle that I've had with creating these native beds is changing my mindset. And I fully recognize, like, I have been trained from traditional practices, and the approach to native plant gardening is very different from how I grew up, how I was educated, and what I did working in the nursery industry. And frankly, completely different from how I manage the blue house garden. And so I'm cautious and conscientious of the fact that I don't really know what I'm doing with these native plants. But I'm also experienced enough to know, like, I don't want to deal with all of these seedlings because that's just as bad as an exotic invasive as far as I'm concerned. So you have to bear with me when I have these conversations with all of you from talking through my cell phone. Obviously these videos are extemporaneous, and I'm just making observations, and I certainly am not a native plant expert. I am excited by every single thing that I learn, and I'm also continuously intimidated by the process. So I just want to make that clear. And sometimes you get into native plant discussions and people get really sensitive about it, and I just want to be open and honest that some of the characteristics of these native plants I've been trained to think are negative, and they're not negative, but it does take a different approach to management. And I'm trying to be a conscious steward of that while also wrapping my head around how I can physically manage these properties. I hope that explanation didn't sound like a cop-out, because it's not what I'm trying to do. Just trying to give some emotional context to the angst that might come from my voice when I talk about seeing so much seed. Now, this bed, I think it definitely has peaked out. And I'm excited to come in and do some cleanup. So I just have to carve out some time, and I have time. I'm home for the next, 7 or 8 weeks. So I'll be able to get out here and and make some major progress. When I see things like henbit, it makes me mad. I don't care if it's native, it's terrible. And then look at all the centipede turf. But it's all right. I'll be able to get out here with some tools and a wheelbarrow and make some major progress. I don't really like seeing the dead stuff, so I'll do some cutbacks, some strategic cutbacks. One plant that I really do appreciate is the Rudbeckia maxima. I like that it has such nice bold rosettes that really persist all winter. And then speaking of persisting, these deciduous hollies look awesome. And of course, all this Vernonia seed, which I've been talking about for several months and haven't taken action on. I'm going to have to write on my daily to-do list, collect native seed. But I do like this combination a lot, and I'm just so pleased that my native azalea, or my native hollies, are covered in berries. Lots of powdery mildew. 'Tis the season, especially on the Monarda. And in here on Pycnanthemum, again, I think a lot of this will look better with some strategic cutbacks. I know that like the approach that a lot of gardens take with natives is sort of hands-off. I'm not a hands-off gardener, and I like for things to look a little bit tidier than they're looking right now. So I'm just gonna make sure that the next time I give you a tour, I will have made a little bit of progress on some cleanup with these borders. Now, I don't know if this is normal, and I can't remember if this happened last year, if it's just because we've had such crazy mild weather, but the Pensan Strictus is blooming again. I think that's Pensan Strictus. I'll have to look it up. And then, of course, the echinaceas keep putting out flowers. So that's a pretty cool surprise for getting to be, we're a week away from Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a week from today. I can't believe it. Now, it's really quite silly for me to try and pick a favorite Rudbeckia because there's so many great ones. But you can see Rudbeckia triloba is also putting out a tiny but still colorful second flush of blooms. And then the Solido here, which is Solar Cascade, is also absolutely loaded in seed. This is all Rudbeckia triloba seed. I should definitely be collecting some of the native seed. To be perfectly honest, until this moment, it hadn't actually crossed my mind. I'm so focused on poppies and larkspur that it hadn't crossed my mind that this would be a great addition to the seed line. And of course, this fabulous Monarda punctata, which is really hard to find in the nursery trade, grows so easily from seed. So I'm definitely talking myself into getting out here maybe today or tomorrow, more realistically, because I have to finish cleaning the Airbnb, and starting to get massive quantities of native seed collected. Well, I treated myself to a little exercise and sunshine today and got a big bag of soil cube emptied, which I'm going to show you under the big taxodium in preparation of getting the native fern bed planted. But I was so enjoying this bed, the pollinator pocket bed, which is the oldest of all the borders here in the native garden. This is about 2 years and 2 months old. And it is amazing how different the plants are and which plants are spreading and, you know, which plants are persisting and which ones have died. I expected that to happen. I'm really happy that my rainbow of Salvia gregii are still living. And again, I cannot get over the echinaceas. All these beautiful fresh blooms. And then look here, I actually got California poppies in flower, which is just so bizarre. Though I do recall this happened last year, so I guess this is the new normal. And of course, there's some things that really are ugly and need to be cut back. The eutrochium, and again, more echinaceas in bloom. You could see the pink muley here is already starting to lose some of its integrity. But again, I'm not gonna burn that stuff down until it goes totally dry. So frankly, it won't burn when it's green. And I definitely need to go ahead and just cut these silphium, the cup plant. I need to cut these big stalks all the way down because you can see a really fabulous rosette has grown. But you know, this is one of those plants that I preemptively cut the seeds off of because I was really worried about how many millions would germinate. And I don't regret it at all. And so technically I have collected some native seed because I did collect these. Now, I have a whole bunch of other things that can be collected, including different species of pycnanthemum, both here. I don't remember which species is which, so I'm not gonna say anything. And though I don't usually collect echinacea seed because I like for the birds to steal it, I think I could probably steal a few. So golly, I might need to get another refrigerator, y'all, if I'm gonna start collecting all these native seeds. Well, there's nothing quite like the view of this taxodium at this time of year when the late sun shining through it. It's nearly at the stage where it's going to drop all of its needles. And that's why I really wanted to get more soil cube put out, because what I appreciate so much about this tree is that it's self-mulching. And I want the taxodium foliage to be the mulch, and so I wanted to get the compost down before all the needles fell. So you can kind of see the shape of the bed. I'm leaving this opening here as a driving port because though it's not something I'm going to drive on a daily basis, I do want to have access so that I can really utilize that pull through over there. Obviously haven't made any progress on new beds here, but you know, it's on my mind. That's step one. And I will continue to put more soil down all along this side. And then not only will this be ferns, but I have a fair amount of landscape plugs of different flowering perennials that I think will do better on this side. This is sort of the southwestern exposure. I don't think ferns are really going to be ideal for over here because they'll burn in the summer. So I'm going to concentrate the ferns over here on the northeast side of the tree where it's more shade. Well, everybody, I hope this mid-November tour here in my native borders will serve as inspiration. I do look forward to sharing more updates, particularly as I make some progress getting some things cut back and getting some more seeds collected, because I do think that for my own capacity for management and my best practices for the time and resources that I have, not allowing all that seed to persist over the winter, drop to the ground and germinate, is going to be my better decision. Having a little sense of control over what goes where is still important for this traditionally trained horticulturalist. And maybe perhaps we all need to have more discussions about the reality of garden management. Not just with natives, but with everything that you plant, and realistically assessing what it takes to keep your beds in order and prevent you from working too hard. That's exactly what I'm trying to learn from this experience growing out these native borders. So I do hope that you will subscribe and continue to tune in. And as always, thanks for watching and happy gardening.